I'm Sandra Young. I'm the Vice President General Manager of Homes by Abbey, and we're sponsoring these series of sessions. I'm here to introduce Rohit Gupta to you, our speaker this afternoon, and our last speaker of the day. Rohit Gupta, who recently assumed the role as CFO effective January 1st of 2011, has been an integral part of Rohit Group Companies, which was established by his father, Radi Gupta, in 1986. Rohit has achieved a BSc in computer engineering and an MBA from the University of Alberta. After joining the family business, Rohit's career path in the building industry began by overseeing the construction of projects representing the planning and building of all residential communities, as well as the strategic and operational direction of the firm. In his role, Rohit is the forefront of new opportunity development with particular specialization in the area of the operations of high-growth businesses. To complement his business acuity, Rohit is currently serving as Vice Chair of the Risk Committee and is incoming Chair of the Board of Directors for 2011 and 12, the Alberta New Warranty Program. Also great believers in giving back to the community, Rohit and the Gupta family are active supporters of many charitable causes such as the Neil Gupta Memorial Award for the Department of Pediatrics, University of Alberta, Kids in the Hall, Habitat for Humanity, the Stollery Children's Hospital Foundation, and Alberta Heart Institute, and other community projects in India. Ladies and gentlemen, Rohit.
Thank you, Sandra. Well, thank you all for taking the time to come out today. It's a real pleasure to get the opportunity to speak to you. But before I speak, get into my topic, I think we should give a round of applause to the CHBA Edmonton local for coming up with this visionary forum here at the RCIC. I mean, it is an absolutely phenomenal thing they've come together, they've put together here. It's the first of its kind I know of in Canada. The only other place I've seen this type of forum where different speakers are coming to the play or anything is in Las Vegas or at the National American Home Builders Association in the US. So if we get a chance, let's just thank the volunteers and everybody. So I think I've lost my pointer. Okay, well, we'll adjust around that too. So today's topic is on building relationships at block by block. And before I really get into it, I just want to give you kind of an idea of the way I tend to think. I'm a mathematician by nature. I tend to think in formulas. I think there's an art, there's a science between every art. And often people tend to think that relationships are just pure art. You either have it or you don't have it. And I completely disagree with it. There's an element, definitely, that is art, that allows you to get past and excel in what you do, but there are basic foundation blocks that exist in all of us, and basic foundation blocks that exist in our everyday practice in life that allows us to build successful relationships. So before we get into how to develop successful relationships, we have to understand what the purpose of relationships exist. And the most important one is it gives us purpose. We often forget that when we start looking at relationships in our day-to-day activities, as investors, when we start to look at our business, we tend to look at the numbers. We start to say, what's the profit margin? What's the return on equity? But we don't get any satisfaction out of that. That just tells us where the measuring stick is. But the real satisfaction comes out of there when you deliver the house to the homeowner and you say, hey, here's your key. Or you get to see the family walking from the Mac store into their house and you realize as a developer, you planned that. Or as a supplier, you have the opportunity where somebody's enjoying their energy efficient house in terms of the windows or the insulation that they have. And that's where the satisfaction really starts coming. So the delivery of your product, delivery of a service, create that connection with your customer, create that connection with the bankers. When the bankers sit across from you and say, you know, we want to invest with you, we want to lend you money because you guys are doing a good job. That's where the satisfaction comes from. And that's what we often forget. Relationships also ease the process of conducting business. And if we were to listen to lawyers every day in, day out, we would never get anything done. If we listened to our accountants, we would never get anything done because they're risk adverse. If we were listening to Todd Hershey earlier today, you'd find that creativity is sucked out of the business, or businesses are sucking out of creativity out of Canadian society because we're trying to prevent risk. And part of it is success comes out of horse trading. And we have to make trades where we say, hey, you know, Mr. Supplier, we made a mistake or you made a mistake, don't worry about it, we'll take care of it and we'll move forward. But that's what relationships are really doing for us. They open the business to inflow of information. It's unbelievable how much business I've done over a bottle of scotch, or how much I've done over just a lunch, or how much I've done just helping somebody else. I'll give you an example. I sat down with I had a phone call actually yesterday, and there was a gentleman who'd just taken over a role in a senior role in a business in a different industry in a different city. He called me up and he said, look, I had to let go of my 2 senior guys here. Can you help me out? I said, sure, let me help you out. So I started giving him a couple of names and started saying, this is where you want to look in Vancouver and Calgary, and these guys may be able to help you out. Well, sure enough, he asks me, hey, how can I help you? I said, well, look, this is what I'm doing today. This is my challenge in my business today. And he goes, perfect, don't worry. 10 minutes later, somebody else calls me. And that person calls me out because I had developed this relationship with the first individual. And he started helping me through my problem. And sure enough, I have a solution today. And that was literally yesterday, a problem I've been working on for 3 months. It breeds stability in volatile times. We've all been through 2006, 2007. We all went through 2008, 2009. In 2006, 2007, our trades were leveraging us, our employees were leveraging us, our suppliers were leveraging us, our banks were leveraging us. 2008, 2009, it's the opposite. All of a sudden the builders are leveraging, the developers are leveraging. In those leverage relationships, when the leveraging was occurring, relationships weren't being created. Where the relationships stuck through in 2006, 2007, where the vendors worked with the builders, helped them through their challenges, the builders reciprocated kindly in 2008, 2009. Not always, but most of the time. And similarly happened with the employees. When they saw that their builders supported them through the tough times, the employees are going to help us through the next boom times. And there are going to be boom times coming. It's right around the corner. We're just talking, Sandra and I, that the future of Alberta is very positive. There's a lot of energy. When you go to Manitoba or you go to BC, you don't feel that energy that you have in the room here in Alberta. It's also a platform for dealing with conflicting agendas. Often, the sales team will have a challenge with the purchasing team, or your sales team will have a challenge with the production line. If there's no relationship that exists between the sales team and the production line, how can they resolve their problems? All the sales will do is say, it's production that screwed up. If they look at production will turn around and say, sales screwed up. So those relationships allow that conversation to start existing and start resolving the issues. Often what I find, give you another example, is we were reviewing financing commitments just the other day. And I'm going to talk a lot about my new role, and if you guys want me to change up the topic, just tell me. But we laid them all out, and there was 3 parameters we're reviewing the deals on, X, Y, and Z. And it was amazing. 3 of the lenders were sitting on X, and 1 lender was sitting on Z. And the primary issue for us was Z. So all 3 other lenders were out the door. And often when I sit down with trades, or we sit down when trades bring us contracts, they may not understand what our business does and what our strategy is. And often we may not understand what their needs are and what they want, what they're looking for. And so you're talking 2 different languages, and then you're sitting there and you're going, well, why didn't I win the contract? And that's part of the relationship building process. And at the end of the day, if you put all these things together, you leverage yourself into higher profits. And I challenge anybody to tell me that relationships don't have a payback associated with them. So the foundation of relationships really is, it's 5 layers. The top layer that we tend to see when we interact with businesses is the attitude. But right underneath that, the attitude is driven by communication, which is also driven by the expectations that both parties have of each other, of the relationship itself. The people are the ones that are really driving the expectations, communications, and the attitude, and your processes are what the people are relying upon. So I'm going to walk you through on all 5 of these points and try to show you where you can work on and what are the best practices we've learned as an organization, and recognize that we don't execute 100% on any one of these. It's always a challenge, and that's part of any growth business, but this is what you're striving to get to. So the starting point is, everybody tends to look at the soft side, the communication, the attitude, and the expectations, but it actually really starts with your strategy. What is the strategy of the business? How are they going forward? And I'll get more into this. But after you define your strategy, your people, your processes, your infrastructure, and your information systems are what will drive it forward. Because your people are truly the ones that are doing the communication, the attitude, and the expectation setting. But the processes are a key part of it. The way you handle information. And I'm not talking about IT. I'm talking about information in terms of how are you relaying what the progress of a site is doing, or the progress of a delivery of a window or a door, or anything of that nature. The infrastructure is how are you structured organizationally? Where is your business located? How is it located? And we'll get into those. So who are you? And who is your trade? I mean, do we want to be Costco or Walmart? Costco's high value, not necessarily always the lowest cost, but high value. Have the best produce in the city, better than Superstore, better than Save-On. You go into Walmart, its the objective is to be the lowest cost provider. We look at, do you want to be Pulte homes or KB homes? Pulte is everywhere. KB tends to be localized in Western US. Pulte's gone into land development, KB hasn't. Do you want to be P&G? Behind the scenes, nobody really knows who you are, but you're providing all the soaps, the shampoos, the toothbrushes, the toothpaste, all those types of items. What is your trade? Is it Apple? They're selling you something that's really shiny, overpriced? Or do you want to go for something that's a little bit cheaper, a little bit more commodity, and a little bit more functional, like the BlackBerry? BlackBerry's not as pretty, the Apple is. Do you want to be Berkshire Hathaway or Sequoia Capital? Two names that none of you probably heard of. Berkshire's Warren Buffett. They're the guys who get into all the dirty industries, so they get into manufacturing, they'll get into lumber supplies, they'll get into mills, they'll get into anything of that nature, anything that's a depressed asset, and they'll invest in that. Or you're going to be in Sequoia Capital. The guys who created Apple, the guys who created HP, the guys who funded Dell, and they're part of all the innovation technology, and they're the ones who are driving creativity. That's the question that has to be answered by all of us as builders, because if I start looking in the room, the builders here that we have in the room are anywhere from renovations to high-end builders that are doing custom housing, to volume builders that are doing condominium projects, or to people who are development builders. Some of the people in the room are just management. They're construction managers, so they don't put any penny into the construction or into the project. All they do is manage the construction all the way through. Some of the people here are renovators. But you have to define who you are and accordingly define who you're going to interact with. So before we move in to getting a little bit deeper into defining the process and the people, but the key, the effects, the little variances that are affecting our business on a daily basis are the power of the buyer. Is it an up market or a down market? If it's an up market, the builder or you as the owner of the company has the power. You have pricing power, you have the ability to define what services are going to be there. If it's a down market, the buyer is defining what services you're going to have. The buyer is going to define what price you're going to be selling the product at. The bargaining power of your suppliers. If resin's going up and your buyer is not willing to pay for that extra resin, there's a challenge. Are there product substitutes that are occurring? Is there creativity that's taking place in the business? For example, we were talking earlier, Todd Hirsch's presentation here about cars. At the time when Henry Ford was out there, they were talking about getting faster horses, but he changed the rules of the game. He brought out the car in a manufacturing process. So what's happening with us in the housing industry? That's always affecting what relationships we're going to tend to focus on. There's threat of new entrants. In Fort McMurray, you go today, you have to buy a lot. The minimum price is $320,000. You come into Edmonton, the minimum price for a lot is $120,000. Whole different ball of wax. Who can come into the market and who can't come into the market. And then what's happening with your existing competitors? Landmark today is introducing a manufacturing plant. And that